The heart of the Viking is Yamaha's most powerful 700 class engine ever. A single overhead cam 4-valve high-output power plant that delivers optimum torque for virtually any situation or workload. And plenty of horsepower when you want it, that gets you to the job site quickly. The Pioneer's motor's about the same size, but it's almost 30% less powerful in a heavier machine. So you're going to notice a big performance difference in just about every situation. And when it comes time to haul cargo or tackle uneven terrain, the Pioneer really starts to show how underpowered it is. It can barely keep up. Now couple all that extra power with Yamaha's best in the industry Ultramatic transmission. The smoothest, most dependable, continuously variable transmission there is, bar none. A class-exclusive centrifugal clutch maintains constant belt tension, so the belt stays engaged with the drive sheaves for seamless performance at any speed. The Pioneer comes with what Honda describes as a 3-speed automotive-style transmission. What we found is a notchy, jolty gearbox that you're never quite able to predict because the machine's doing the thinking for you. Yamaha, on the other hand, gives you the ability to choose between high and low range for added speed when you want it and more pulling power when you need it. In fact, in low range, the Viking's lowest gear ratio is twice as low as Pioneer's first gear, which means Pioneer's first gear really isn't low enough for big demands, uneven terrain, or heavy loads. Yamaha's Ultramatic transmission also adds the benefit of consistent engine braking for smooth, predictable descents. Speaking of brakes, the Viking gives you twin-piston calipers and disc brakes at all 4 wheels for consistent, predictable, low-maintenance stopping power and better brake feel. The Pioneer? Only 3 single-piston brakes, with only a single brake on the rear axle shaft, and once again, you're going to notice the difference. And when it comes to handling, Viking's precise steering requires fewer turns lock to lock, and Viking also adds the added convenience of electric power steering for tremendously reduced steering effort, especially in rugged terrain or when you're operating in 4-wheel diff lock. You can't get EPS on the Pioneer. Add in the Viking's 11.8-inch ground clearance, more than an inch taller than the Pioneer's, plus full underbody skid plate protection, unlike the Pioneer's. And you've just got to ask yourself, which one would you rather be driving in rough off-road conditions? One of the Honda Pioneer 704's biggest claims is a flexible design that allows it to carry 2, 3, or 4 people. But in reality, it's a trade-off between people or cargo. By trying to do a little of everything, the Honda compromises its ability to do anything well. Let's look at how the flexibility of the Honda stacks up against the Viking in real-world work situations. The Viking's dedicated steel cargo bed is made to carry whatever you might want to put in it. Because the Honda's bed is also the back seat, you have to be careful what you put in it, especially loose material. There's an accessory liner to prevent this, but you give up the use of the seats. Although they're about the same width, the Viking's cargo bed can carry a full-size pallet. The Pioneer? Not even close. The Viking's steel cargo bed has 4 conveniently placed tie-down locations so you can easily secure your load. For some reason, the Pioneer's plastic cargo bed only has 3 floor-mounted tie-down points, making it more difficult to secure your load. The Viking clearly has the advantage in real work situations, with the ability to carry 3 full-size adults and a load of cargo. In 4-person mode, the Pioneer hardly gives you enough cargo space to pack your lunch, and then only if it's less than 4 inches wide. Even in the 3-person setup, you've got very limited cargo space, and I'm guessing that rear seat is where the new guy gets to ride, because it's crammed with cargo and totally lacking in foot and knee room. In 2-person mode, you get plenty of cargo room, but no 3rd or 4th rider. With room for 3 passengers and a full load of cargo, you don't have to make that compromise with the Viking. Now let's talk capacity. Pioneer claims to be able to carry 1,000 pounds, while the Viking is rated at 600, which is more than you're likely to ever need. In fact, the average cargo load is considerably less. But let's load them up and drive them. While the Pioneer can technically carry 1,000 pounds, when fully loaded, it pushes in the corners. And the Viking? Sure, you can tell you got a load in there, but it steers just as predictably as when it's empty. No pushing in the corners like the Pioneer. Both machines are rated to tow 1,500 pounds, so once again, let's put them to the test. While the Pioneer does fine on flat, even ground, it easily gets bogged down when the trail is less than ideal. With 30% more engine power and gearing that's twice as low, the Viking can power out of situations the Pioneer can't, no matter where it has to go. And by the way, the Viking's fuel tank is nearly 20% bigger, so you can go much farther before filling up. The Pioneer 704 talks a good game, and on the surface, it looks like a good idea. But when you're out there in the real world, the Viking is the one that walks the walk. When you're working, hunting, or just riding for fun, being comfortable isn't an option, it's a necessity. Even though they're about the same size overall, the Viking wheelbase is more than 7 inches longer than the Pioneer. Despite having a similar trail width, the Viking's cabin is 10 inches wider. Despite the lower step-in and lower seat height, the Viking still has higher ground clearance than the Pioneer. And Yamaha's engineers put all that extra room to good use, with comfortable seating for 3 adults. 3 individual seats with padded head restraints and plenty of legroom, plus an adjustable passenger handhold here. The Viking's center seat is offset, with its own footwell to help keep everyone comfortable, secure, and out of each other's way. Due to its shorter wheelbase, Pioneer's front legroom and footroom are very limited, since the wheel wells intrude into the cockpit. The driving position on the Viking is much more comfortable and natural. You're down inside the machine, unlike the Pioneer where you feel like you're way up on top. Even Pioneer's step-in is higher, and that extra effort will take its toll after getting in and out all day long. An adjustable driver's seat helps out too. You can't get that on the Pioneer. The Viking seat belts have elastic sections that give during lockup, adding comfort as well as security. Not the Pioneer, where you're more likely to get jolted in rough conditions. And while we're talking comfort, this sun top is standard on most Vikings. It's an extra cost option on the Pioneer. Then you've got those rear seats, where it would appear that the Pioneer has an advantage over the Viking, unless comfort and convenience is part of the equation. First, you have to decide whether you're hauling people or stuff, because you can't do both if you've got 4 people on board. Next, there's the changeover process, which is a real production. And then there's the seats themselves, which leave a lot to be desired in terms of comfort. Besides the lack of legroom and footroom, thin padding and no headrests, rear passengers are right over the axles, so they're in for a rough ride. Sure, you can crank up the preload adjustment on the shocks, but you're going to need a special tool to do that, which doesn't come standard with the vehicle. And you're going to need to jack it up to do the adjustment, but even then, it's still going to be harsh back there, even at low speeds and on very modest terrain features. The seat design allows passengers to slide around, and a lack of leg space means your knees could be banging into the front seat. So when it comes to this whole rear passenger and cargo layout, you kind of have to scratch your head and wonder, what did they have in mind? Bottom line, the Honda Pioneer is a very ambitious machine. It wants to do it all, but what it's really about is compromise. The Viking, on the other hand, delivers exactly what it's set out to do, which in this case is best-in-class interior space, uncompromising comfort and convenience. The Viking comes with Yamaha's 50-year heritage of excellence and an unmatched reputation for build quality, dependability, and reliability. And let's be totally fair, that's just as true for Honda. But the Viking's engineers went out of their way to make sure it was just as easy to service as it is to operate, whereas the Pioneer makes it a bit more work, starting with engine access. On the Viking, you just lift up the cargo bed, and there it is. With the Pioneer, you can access the motor under the seats, but it's a lot more cramped. The Viking's air filter is right here under the seat, and it's easily removed without tools. Here it is on the Pioneer. You've got to squeeze yourself under the cargo bed to get it out, and you're going to need a screwdriver to get it out. And just look at the difference in size. Which one do you think is more able to handle a dusty work site, to say nothing of letting the engine breathe? The oil filter on the Viking? It's right here, and its spin-on design again allows you to change it without tools. The Pioneer's is way down here, much more difficult to get to and no spin-on design. And the Pioneer's battery is located down here under the seat where it is more exposed to the elements. The Viking's is right up here under the hood, safe and protected. Speaking of protection, just look at these CV boots on the Viking and lack thereof on the Pioneer. Plus, the Viking's full underbody skid plate makes it nearly invulnerable to rocks and other stuff that can get up into the machine. The Pioneer? Not so much, meaning you'll get hung up more often. Two capable machines, both from highly respected manufacturers. But you have to agree that when it comes to serviceability and dependability, the Viking comes out on top. The Honda Pioneer is a very ambitious machine. It tries to be the ultimate in versatility. But in trying to do too much, it ends up not being very capable for work or very much fun in a recreational setting, with a lot of compromises along the way either way. The Yamaha Viking was designed with a clear purpose in mind: to get the job done, with the best off-road terrainability, the most versatility, and the highest degree of comfort in its category. And out there in the real world, it greatly outperforms the Pioneer in key areas like engine power, terrainability, comfort, and the ability to work hard and play even harder.